Hey boys and girls, it's Miss Dorsey again, and today we are going to keep talking about comparing measurements. We've been talking about this week, and we have talked about the first thing you have to do when you're going to compare measurements is you have to measure the items so that you can find the difference. So we're going to measure our items, we're going to find out how long they are, and then we're going to subtract to find the difference between the two items. Earlier this week, we used an actual ruler and measured some things. And this week, we're going to do it, or not this week, sorry. Today, we're going to do it using a digital format. And I'm going to do some with you, and then you're going to have an assignment that's almost identical, and you're going to turn it in to your teacher, okay? Now, it says, directions. Part A, use the ruler to measure the items to the nearest inch. In part B, we're going to compare the lengths, okay? So on these Google Slides, you have a ruler and you're actually going to move it around, okay? To measure your items. The first item I'm going to measure is this glue stick. And we talked about when we measure, do we line up at the end of the ruler or at the 0 mark? The 0 mark, that's right. So I've got to make sure my 0 mark is right there on the line. And I can see that this glue stick is about how many inches? About 4 inches, that's right. So I'm going to click the text box and type in 4. Then I'm going to move the ruler to measure the pencil, making sure that I'm lining it up at the 0 mark. Oh, I need to go a little bit more. There we go. I'm right at that 0 mark now. You can click on the ruler and move it as much as you need to. And I see that this pencil is right there at the 10. So I'm going to come say that the pencil is 10 inches long. Okay, boys and girls? Now, I have to do part B. It says the blank is about the number inches longer than the blank. We got to fill this in. Well, first, we can fill in the numbers, right? Because we can find the difference. Because when we find the difference, we're subtracting. And I have two numbers, 4 and 10. So when I subtract, I know the biggest number always comes first. So I'm going to say 10 minus 4 to find the difference. Boys and girls, what's 10 minus 4? 6, that's right. Okay, so I know the difference is 6, and now I got to figure out which word goes in which blank. The blank is about 6 inches longer. So I'm looking for the one that was longer. Who was longer, the pencil or the glue stick? The pencil, that's right. So pencil's going to go here. The pencil is about 6 inches longer than the glue stick. Hey, boys and girls? So that's how we're going to find the difference on this slide in inches. Okay, now we're going to do one together in centimeters. Okay, we're going to look at this card. Same directions, same procedures, just finding the difference of the worms in centimeters. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my worms. I'm going to measure worm 1. They've given me a centimeter ruler this time. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to move it and I'm going to make sure I line my worm up at the 0 mark. It might take you a couple of times to make sure you have it there. And that's okay. You can move it around. Okay, so he stops at the 12. So worm 1 is 12 centimeters. Okay, now I'm going to measure worm number 2. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to move it again. And I've got to make sure that we are starting with it lined up at the 0 mark, okay? So if I go all the way down, I can see that worm 2 is 22 centimeters long, okay? Now I can go ahead and find the difference. And to find the difference, you're going to do what, boys and girls? You're going to subtract. That's right. So when I subtract, what number always goes on top? Biggest number. That's right. So I'm going to say 22 minus 12. Okay, boys and girls. And remember, always start in the ones place. 2 minus 2 is 0. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So the difference between the two worms is 10 centimeters. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put 10 in the blank. Now I have to decide which worm, 1 or 2, goes in which spot. So let's read the sentence. Worm blank is about 10 centimeters longer. So I'm looking for the one that's longer again first. So who was longer, worm 1 or worm 2? Worm 2, that's right. So I'm going to move my 2, and then I'm going to move my 1. And let's see if my sentence works. Worm 2 is about 10 centimeters long than worm 1. Okay, boys and girls? So today, that's how you're going to practice in your Google Slides. You're going to practice measuring 2 items and then finding the difference by subtracting. Okay? I will see you tomorrow, boys and girls. Have a good afternoon.